What's up, Internet? I am Joseph Widener. Thank you for checking out the channel, Widener Music. Today I'm going to show you guys a pretty simple way to write modal chord progressions. I'm going to work you guys through a chart that I usually share with my students, whether we fill it out together or I give it to them as an assignment. And it's something I came up with. I've never seen anything quite like it before, but I think it's a really good way to at least generate some ideas when you're trying to write a chord progression that's going to evoke a certain mode, a certain musical feel. So we'll jump right into it. You can see I got everything blocked off right now. I'll uncover it as we talk about each little section of it, but it's like this mode, scale, degree, chord matrix is what I call it. You can see the key that we're going to be working in is red. That's because this can change, but all this other stuff is going to stay the same when we fill this stuff in. So like we can change keys from C to G to F, whatever. The first thing that we'll talk about is the modes, obviously. So if you're not familiar with the modes, I do have a separate video where I cover those pretty in depth, so we're not going to really go into what the modes are or how they relate to the major scale very much in this video. If that's what you're looking for, check out my other video that I will link to in the description. But importantly, there are 7 of them. So we have the Ionian mode, and each of these corresponds to our major scale. So our Ionian mode is literally just the major scale. They mean the same thing. So if we're playing in C, that's what our major scale sounds like, and it's what the Ionian mode sounds like. We also have the Dorian mode, and they do have to be in this certain order. The Dorian mode corresponds to the second note of our major scale. So if we're playing a C major scale, the Dorian mode would correspond to the second note in that scale, which in this case is a D. And if we take those same notes and start on D and make D our tonal center, we get the D Dorian mode. Very different sound, same notes, different tonal center. We can do the same thing. Phrygian corresponds to our third note in the scale, Lydian to the 4th, Mixolydian to the 5th, Aeolian to the 6th, and Locrian to the 7th. And then we're back to, in this case, a C, and we're back to our Ionian. So we can see, again, the key we're playing in is not super important for this until we actually start playing chords. And then this is going to give us our root note, basically, for each chord. But in the key of C, each one of these notes corresponds to the mode listed across from it. Okay. Instead of really corresponding to these specific notes, though, since the notes can change, the modes actually correspond to scale degrees. So the scale degrees, we have them written here in Roman numerals. You can see that some of them are uppercase, some of them are lowercase. That is on purpose. Writing out chord progressions using Roman numerals is pretty standard. You'll see that a lot. We'll talk more about why some are uppercase and some are lowercase as we go on to triads. So each scale degree, in addition to being tied to a certain mode, is also going to be linked to a certain type of triad, either major, minor, or diminished. Okay, those are the three that we're working at. We have 3 major triads and 3 minor triads, just like we have 3 major modes and 3 minor modes, and then we have this diminished mode with a flat fifth. Locrian doesn't get used a whole lot. Diminished chords are more popular than the Locrian mode itself, probably, but I'm not going to focus too much on either of those right now. So we'll focus mainly on the major and minor. But basically, to build a chord based off of a scale degree, what we do is we take the notes from whatever key we're in. So continuing in the key of C, if we build a triad off of our first scale degree here, our first scale degree would be a C, that's our 1. We would also take the third note, which here is an E, and then the 5th note, okay, which here is a G. So we have C, E, G, or the 1st, 3rd, and 5th note in our scale. And when we play those together, that gives us a C major scale. So in the key of C, we're taking our first scale degree and building a chord off of that, and that gives us a major chord. Okay, we can do the same thing with our second scale degree. If we start on the D, and then if that becomes our 1, we take the 3rd note, the 1st note and the 3rd note, and the 5th note, and we play those together, and that gives us a D minor chord. Okay, now we can do the same thing with our 3rd scale degree. We would start with the 3rd here, which is an E. That becomes our 1. We take a minor 3rd. It is a minor 3rd. It's the 3rd note in our scale moving forward. Again, we're only using these notes. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that gives us an E minor chord. So we have a C major, a D minor, and an E minor. And we can keep that pattern going all the way up this chart. And if we do that, we'll have another major chord for our 4th scale degree, another major chord for our 5th scale degree, a minor chord for our 6th scale degree, and then a diminished chord for the 7th scale degree. A diminished chord is a chord with a flattened 3rd or a minor 3rd and a flattened 5th or a minor 5th. Okay. We also have a 7th chord associated with each scale degree and also with each mode. So to make a 7th chord, basically what we do is we do that same 1, 3, 5 building block pattern, but we also add in the 7th note from our 1. So if we were building a C 7th chord, or if we were building a 7th chord in the key of C off of our 1st scale degree, we would start on C. We would have the 3rd note in the scale, the 5th note in the scale, and the 7th note in that scale. And that would give us a C 7th chord. Okay, we can do the same thing for each scale degree again, and when we do that, we get a major 7th for our C, we get a minor 7th for our 2nd scale degree, which is here a D, and a minor 7th, we would have our root note, in this case a D, a minor 3rd, a perfect 5th, and a minor 7th, excuse me. That would be a minor 7th. when we build a seventh chord off of any of these minor modes, any scale degree that corresponds to a minor mode, we get a minor seventh. There's only one type of minor seventh chord. Okay, we have a major seventh on our first scale degree and our fourth scale degree. On our fifth scale degree, instead of getting a 1, 3, 5, 7, we would get, in this case we're in G. G is our fifth scale degree, and we would have a 1, 3, 5, minor 7. Very different feel. So seventh chords, generally if something's just referred to as a seventh chord, that's what it's referring to. It's a 1, 3, 5, minor 7. I have dominant here in parentheses. It is, its full name is a dominant seventh chord, usually just referred to as a seventh chord. If it's minor or major, you'll usually hear or see minor or major seventh. Okay. Here we have the chord tones. We just talked about these, but this gives you the numerical formula for each of these chord types, where whatever scale degree that we're building that chord off of, this is the formula you use, where whatever note corresponding to the scale degree becomes our 1. So if we're playing in the key of C and we're building a seventh chord off of the fourth scale degree, our 1 is an F, and we would take a 1, 3, 5, and 7 from that that note. Here is an F. We would have a 1, 3, 5, 7. We play all those notes together. That gives us a major seventh chord. Okay, so to use this chart, each mode has a very distinct sound associated with it. Some of them are related, like the Ionian, the Lydian, and the Mixolydian are all major. They all have a 1, a major third, and a 5, or a fifth. So they're going to sound similar. The minor modes are going to sound similar also. And then we have the Locrian down here. But so they do sound similar, but each has a very distinct sound associated with it. So if we're familiar with that sound and we want to bring that sound out, what we do is we pick which sound we're looking for, which mode we're looking for. Okay, and we build a chord progression using this chart where we resolve to the scale degree associated with the mode. And whatever key we're in, we can fill this in at that point. So if we're playing in C and we want a Phrygian, we want to elicit that feel, that Phrygian sound, we would pick our third scale degree, which is an E here, and the chord progression that we would write, we can use any of these chords, but we want it to resolve to this E here, and it would be an E minor or E minor seventh if we're playing, if we're involving seventh chords. So there's our E minor chord, and we want that Phrygian sound. We pick any of these other chords to put in our chord progression, but we resolve back to this E minor chord. Okay, so that might look like, let's do an E minor, an F major, a G major, and back to our E minor. We could do an Ionian based chord progression where we resolve back to the C. So we could do a C, F, G, and a C. We could do a Lydian chord progression where we just take an F and a G, and that's going to give us a Lydian sound because we're going from this 4th scale degree to this 5th scale degree. It's got a very Lydian feel to it. We could do an Aeolian chord progression where we resolve back to this 6th scale degree, which here is an A. It's going to be a minor chord or a minor 7th chord. So we can build from that. We can start on our A minor. To a C. To a G. Back to an A minor. Okay? So we can build a chord progression like that. I'm going to throw something on my looper real quick here. So with that chord progression going through my looper, that's an A minor, a C, and an F. We can go to any mode shape that corresponds with that. I'll just go to my A Aeolian shape. So we can see we take this chart, we make a chord progression over it using any of these chords and any of these formulas, and we pick one of the scale degrees to resolve to. Whatever scale degree we pick is going to sound like the chord progression itself is going to sound like the corresponding mode. Okay, if we wanted to change keys here, we would just fill in whatever notes go to that key. So if we took the key of G here, we would have all the same, except we would have an F sharp. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. Now, we'd be playing in an A Dorian instead of an A Aeolian. So we would take this 2nd scale degree, be minor, be an A. We can't go to an F here because we don't have an F in our key. We could go to an F sharp, Locrian, be a diminished or half diminished. I don't really want to do that. So let's take an A Dorian and then go to, or an A minor, because we're going A Dorian, and then let's go to a C major, D major, E minor, back to A minor. So let's go A, C, D, A Dorian chord progression. We could play that, go to our A Dorian scale pattern, vamp over it. You're going to have a chord progression and a melody. They're going to work well together. I think this is a pretty handy chart to really get familiar with the relationships between the modes and the chords, the modes in each other, the chords in each other. I think this is just something good to work on, something I do with my students a lot. I hope this was helpful to you guys. If it was, throw the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you'd like more stuff like this, because there will definitely be more coming. And I appreciate you guys hanging out. Peace.